ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and welcome to our re-entry Monday on Monday, December 15th, 2025. Just 10 days till Christmas, 16 days till New Year's Eve, and 17 days till the start of 2026. With Scotty Webb, of course, live from Tampa. It's been, I don't know what the right word to use this weekend, sports-wise, Army, Navy, some playoff implications, a bowl game, the NFL yesterday, down go the mighty, a lot of key injuries to talk to Scotty about, not much movement in Major League Baseball, but the tragedies at Brown University. I'm about 1 hour from Brown University in Providence, and then wake up to the morning of Australia. The actor father and son duo shooting there, and then the actor Rob, I'm drawing a blank on his last name, him and his wife killed by their son in their Hollywood mansion. I remember him as the father of Jordan Belfort, of course, in The Wolf of Wall Street. So, supposed to be 'tis the season to be excited for the holidays and giving, and just a lot of crazy stuff going on in today's world. But first and foremost, let's talk about our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Carol, Buck, Matthew, Alan, Drew, Jacob. The list is endless. Come join us. Join the community. Jump on X. Join the community. Download the app. I promise you, it is the most fun you'll have, and we'll teach you the skills on that app on properly how to be investing in the sports market. And of course, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Terry Smith has done wonders and will keep doing wonders. Steaks, seafood, chops, appetizers, wines. Terry's got it all. Introduce yourself over on Facebook to Terry Smith. Then come on back to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Why the hat and everything. Got about 6-7 inches of snow between Saturday night and all day Sunday. I was out before I went to bed doing the cars and the walkways and stuff, and then it got cold. 11 degrees, Scotty. Now currently up to a balmy 17 degrees. So it's cold out there, and my two little pooches, one of them only made a quarter of the walk that it usually does to pause and stuff. So Welcome to winter on Cape Cod. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, Scott?
Well, I'm not as cold as you are. Um, you don't want to know what I did yesterday. Like, I went. Look, I live in a really, really pretty place. I live basically in Sarasota, Florida, and it's very pretty here. And I went down and shout out to Cigar Corona, the Corona Cigar Club. I'm sitting in the bar. My wife, I'm drinking. I don't know what I'm drinking. Some kind of. My wife ordered them for me, so it's some kind of alcohol smash drink with I don't know mints and different things inside it, and it looks like weeds in there, but it's really good. I'm watching the football games, smoking my cigars. Then my wife's like, "Let's go for a walk." So we walked, and we're in a shopping plaza, downtown in Sarasota, and we're walking around. People are in shorts and t-shirts. It's 80 degrees. Well, I shouldn't say 80. It's 78. It's warm. And then we decide what else we're going to eat. So we just stop and we sit on a patio and watch people walk by and walk their dogs. And, it is a beautiful place to live. And it is a wonderful place to be. So, I feel bad. I used to live in Columbus, Ohio. So, I'm familiar with cold weather. I'm familiar with how bad it gets. I'm familiar with, the brown slushy crap that you have to deal with, when it snows and you got to throw the ice down and all the stuff that cars do to the roads. I get all of that. So I don't deal with it anymore. And to be quite honest, I couldn't be happier about it. I don't mean that any disrespect to the people that have to deal with the snow and all the other stuff. I don't mean it that way. But I had one of the greatest days yesterday. It was great. Of course, it helps when you win. I was 4-1 in the NFL yesterday, so I was really happy. So, and I guess on a serious note, you brought up the shootings and all the other stuff. Look, I'm going to say it this way because there's a lot of people out here political. I can be very political too, and I'm not going to be political here. But I'm going to say it like this. If you want to be part of the solution, then go be part of the solution. If you don't want to be part of the solution and you're going to be a continuous person that creates more of the uneasiness around the world, go away. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Like just be part of the solution, take care of the problems, do what you got to do, whatever your political beliefs are, whatever they are, but don't be part of the problem. Other than that, I'm good with it. So there you go. That was it in about 20 seconds.
Actually enjoyed, what was it, the FCS games on Saturday. I was watching Montana State. I was watching, and they got the showdown this weekend, and the winner will be the favorite versus either Villanova or upstart Illinois State there. The Army-Navy game is the game. I was fortunate enough, I have the stocking cap. 2 years ago, I was on the field at Gillette. I was rubbing elbows with, Steve there on ESPN. We were standing in the end zone for the first quarter. I'll never ever forget the Army Navy game, the radio row on Friday, and then to press box for the luncheon on Saturday, and then to be on the field, the pageantry and the game. As they were entering, I'm getting high fives from the Navy team as they're coming all the way, running straight down to the end zone. It was a day I'll never forget. I enjoyed the game there, and then comes the NFL, where a lot of things happened yesterday. Start with the Patriots. I had this one circled as a Buffalo win. Didn't look that way at 21-0, and Dave Portnoy eating crow, and the Patriots nation already getting the duck boats and parades, the number one seed, and Josh Allen did what Josh Allen did. and does. They come all the way back and win that game. Patriots about 2.5-point underdogs as they travel Sunday night to Baltimore. Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City. You know, it's eerie how history repeats itself. In year 9, week number 1, the Patriots hosted the Chiefs, and Tom Brady tore his ACL with a low tackle. He got tackled on his knee, and they changed the rules because of that tackle. And then at the end of this game yesterday, Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL. They go on to lose, and I don't know how long he'll be out next year. So the Chiefs are gone. Minnesota and J.J. McCarthy, late night, second half win at Dallas. So the thoughts of Dallas making the playoffs are gone. A lot to take over. Micah Parsons, ACL, he's gone. Seattle chewing its food and gets 6 field goals as Phillip Rivers almost does the unthinkable and almost upset Seattle 13-point underdogs. A lot of moving parts. Denver now with a comfortable number 1 seed lead. No Burrow, no Mahomes, potentially no Lamar. A lot to take in. Talk about the NFL, Scotty.
Yeah, I think there was a couple things. So, you know, you brought up a lot. I think that look, the Rams, in my opinion, the Rams showed they're the best team in the NFL. I mean, like, you know, they beat up the Lions, scored, what was it, 40-some points or whatever. I think I was very surprised. The only game I lost yesterday was I lost the Packers game. I thought the Packers would beat the Broncos. You know, like you know, I got this thing about, you know, in baseball world. Of course, there's way more games, but you know, it's hard to go on long streaks, and you're going to lose. Well, the NFL is kind of worse. You know, it's hard to go on long streaks in the NFL too. So I thought at some point, you know, it's time for the Broncos to lose. You know, and I don't mean that in a sense that my numbers and everything that I run through and stuff didn't show that the Packers were going to win. I just thought it all lined up. Anyway, I was very impressed with what Denver did. Do I think Denver's the number 1 team in the AFC? I don't know. I don't know who the number 1 team in the AFC is. I think that's a very difficult question to answer. I thought New England looked like the number 1 team in the AFC in the first half yesterday. So when you start breaking a lot of this stuff down, it's kind of difficult. But what isn't difficult? What really isn't difficult? The games I won, and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying the games I won. I bet on Jacksonville to cover 12.5, 13 points. I bet on Houston to cover 10. You know what I mean? I'm betting NFL games to cover double digits, and they're killing teams. So there's a huge disparity. And I didn't bet the Raiders game because I don't trust the Eagles, but the Eagles won by 30 something. And I bet the Bears yesterday, right? So all those are bigger spreads. But my thoughts are keep it simple, stupid, meaning that you don't have to go play the most exciting game. Go play where you have a dominant edge in what you're looking at. You know, like some of these teams, I shouldn't say some of them, there's a handful of teams that are really bad. And there's a handful of teams that are really good. And when they play the really bad teams, they're going to win by a whole bunch. So I think those are spots that you can find. And so I don't think the NFL is as tricky as people make it out to be sometimes. I just think that they look at it and go, well, I got to play the most exciting game. Hey, look, exciting games are fun to watch. They're not necessarily fun to bet on because you sit there and, you know, you pull your hair out. So I think that's A. And in the NFL, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens this coming week, right? So the Chiefs are out, and the look ahead number in the Chiefs game, by the way, for this coming week, where is it? I thought it was interesting. the Chiefs play Tennessee, right? So okay, there's one of those. The look ahead number was Chiefs minus 11. Okay, well, Mahomes got hurt, and now they're out of the playoffs. So guess what the number is? 3.5. Right? 3.5. So we got to watch some of this stuff and see where this stuff kind of falls in play, and what's meaningful and what's not. Like I think, for example, the game on Thursday, the Rams play Seattle. It's a big game, in a sense that if the Rams win, right, they're going to be the number one seed probably, and they're going to win that division. If Seattle wins, they're going to be ahead of the Rams and probably win that. And Rams are going to have to go as a wild card. So I think it's a big game. Now, that said, it's a Thursday game. These guys don't like to play Thursday games, so I think we got to figure that out. I think when you sit there and you sort of think about what's going on, Seattle's offense is Jekyll and Hyde, man. They scored 6 points against Atlanta, and then went on a run and scored like 30-some points in the second quarter or second half. Well, yesterday they didn't score a touchdown. They just kicked a whole bunch of field goals. So a whole bunch of field goals aren't going to beat the Rams. So we got to really think about. They're good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're not good, but you can't kick field goals and beat the Rams. So I got to figure out what that looks like. And I'm not, obviously I don't have the data yet and all that stuff. So not ready for that. But I think this is where we're headed. I think tonight's game is kind of an important game. Look, Miami's not out of this. If Miami wins the rest of the games, they're going to make the playoffs. Can Miami win? I don't know. It's a cold day. When does Miami play good football in the cold? When does Tua play good football in the cold? So I've got an opinion on the game, but I just think that, as you're doing a lot of this stuff and you're trying to look at it, there's exciting games, and then there's games to bet on games. So you got to kind of look at it that way, I think. I think the NFL's coming down to that right now.
A lot to just go off of what you just said. Miami quietly has won, I think it's 4 in a row.
4 out of the last 5, I think, yeah.
4 out of their last 5. In the Westgate Superbook contest, with 3-1, we had the Bills. We also had the Packers. And then we come back with, goodness gracious, Florida Bills, Packers. We had Minnesota last night, and we do have Pittsburgh plus the 3.5. I'm more mad at. I really wanted to use the Miami wins with the Ravens win and really tighten up that division there is the best that I can say it. So with 3-1, we got the Dolphins plus 3.5 tonight. You talk about Seattle and the Rams, big implications. Most likely, Devontae Adams obviously will not be playing for the Rams. That's number one. Number two, when they faced off in LA, that was the game that Seattle had 5 turnovers, and yet we're lining up for a field goal to win that game. So quick turnaround there. Basically a pick 'em. Seattle -1, Rams -1, depends on where you shop. Yes, on paper, currently, the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC. The Eagles finally woke up there. But right now on paper, I think it's Rams, Seattle. Here come the 49ers, Philly there. In the AFC, very quietly, the Jaguars just keep rolling. Trevor Lawrence, 5 touchdown passes and 1 rushing. So if you had him on your fantasy playoff team, God bless you there. Between Trevor Lawrence and if you had Kyle Pitts, just those 2 guys, he had 100 points yesterday, which is just mind-boggling there. But so is the Houston Texans, and that's the scary team, I think, in this playoff, whether it's Denver 1 whoever's 2 and 3. It's going to be Josh Allen somewhere, not staring, knowing they have to go through Cincinnati, not knowing they have to, knowing they don't have to go through Kansas City. And it's going to come down to the last game of the year. The Ravens will travel to Pittsburgh. Now, the Ravens, here's a Ravens team that hosts the Patriots Sunday night, then got to travel to Lambeau Field on that following Saturday to then end the year at Pittsburgh. So there's no easy outs there for the Ravens moving forward. But as we were looking at the Patriots schedule the last 6 weeks, I said they'd end 13-4. I'd say they come off the bye, they lose to Buffalo, they'll lose at the Ravens, and then they'll travel to the Jets and win, and they'll host Miami and win. Well, that last game against Miami, as you just stated, Miami wins today, and they host Cincinnati next week. They could be coming to New England a win and in, and New England might not have anything to play. So the AFC especially is just, I don't want to use the word wide open, but like the NFC, one loss and you go from 1 to 5. One win, you go from 6 to 3. The Bears win again. The NFL, I don't think they could have scripted a more crazier year right now, Scotty.
Yeah, it's a crazy season, and I do think that what happened yesterday. Now, we gotta follow up on these injuries this week and what it means to these play teams, because not every team is going to be able to go out and grab a 44-year-old quarterback and throw him in there and come down to the last 30 seconds of the game to determine it. So you're gonna have injuries that are impactful. Look, like Green Bay goes and plays Chicago this week in Chicago, and they're going to be minus the best pass rusher, maybe the defensive disruptor guy of all of them, and Micah Parsons. He's not going to play the rest of the season. I don't know, how long it takes a defensive lineman to get over a knee injury, but he'll probably be out for half the season next year. So, that's what baseball guys run into. Football guys, maybe they get, a little better. But anyway, I think, but Christian Watson got hurt yesterday too. So, if you start taking away things that impact games, that's a problem. And Green Bay, that's a problem. So I think that impacts them, and we'll have to see kind of what Christian Watson looks like, and what whether he's going to play, what kind of injury he actually had, and those kinds of things. So I think that's an issue. Obviously, it's not the Mahomes thing is it's not that big a deal in a sense that they're already out of the playoffs. So. Betting wise, we might look at, what Minshew can do. Look, I still think the Chiefs are better than 3.5-point favorites over Tennessee with Minshew there, but whatever, we'll see what happens. Motivation's important in a lot of this stuff, and we'll see. So I think those are things we got to follow up on. Now, you don't have the wide receiver in the Rams, right? Like the guy that pulled his hamstring.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, that's a problem. So there's a lot of those spots that came out of this week. And the game that nobody's talking about that was one of the most impactful games was the Saints and the Carolina Panthers game. That was
that was our other win, was the Saints. And again, that was a playoff of Thursday night's loss. Tampa lost, and there was Carolina 2.5-point favorites against the Saints, which eventually got pushed to 3. But we had Carolina plus the 2.5. The Saints plus the 2.5. And here I'm screaming. I figured it'd come down to a 2-point conversion. And here the lowly Saints tie it up with 2 minutes and 18 seconds left, and they kick the extra point. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? There's your 2-point conversion. You either take the lead or you trail. And yet they tied it up and they held Carolina. They came down and win. So that was, thank you. That was the other one. But again, these divisions, one wins the other team loses. One loses, the other team wins. And it's just crazy how it kind of, and it was like thinking Buffalo's going to beat the Patriots and the Packers, who were 2.5-point favorites. There was money came in late on Denver yesterday to 1.5. But the first time in a bazillion years, two teams with at least 9-game winning streaks were home and home dogs. That never happens.
Yeah, it's. I think that was a good weekend. I think we're gonna have another good weekend this weekend. They're certainly becoming meaningful games, and this. I don't know if you're watching, what's going on with Joe Burrow and his antics when he's sitting there talking about his press conferences, and they're trying to figure out whether he's actually mentally there. Look, all of this stuff is just compiled on with each other. I guess the best way to say it is you can get caught up in all the ancillary stuff in the NFL, or you can get caught up in the stuff that matters. And what matters is what's going to happen on the field, and who's going to run the ball, and how far are they going to get, and who's going to throw the ball, and who's going to play on defense, and can they stop them? What does the matchups look like? Don't get caught up in, whether Joe Burrow is altogether there, or he's not there, or he's depressed, or whatever. All that stuff is all ancillary. It doesn't matter. It's all what the TV people want you to get caught up in, because that's what draws people in to watch more football. So, gambler wise, you gotta stay away from that kind of stuff. It's like this week in college football, right? You got all these bowl games. You got bowl games starting Tuesday, and they're all small conference teams. So be very, very careful on what you're betting, because when you're betting on bigger conference schools, obviously you have better coaches, better talented kids. They're bigger kids, but what you really get is more consistent play because they're better kids. They're more athletic. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to put on better shows every day. They're going to make plays. They're going to do the things that they need to do. They're going to make stops. Well, the smaller down you go in conference, and you start betting on these smaller schools, the reality becomes is you get more inconsistent play because the kids aren't as good. They're dispersed differently. The coaches aren't as good. So all of those things start turning into, I think this is going to be a great game. And then you watch the game and you go, oh shit, that wasn't supposed to happen. And you go, well, yeah, they're inconsistent for sure as hell. So the one thing I'm going to kind of preach this week is you don't have to bet these games. You know what I mean? You don't have to bet these games. And to be quite honest with you, a game like and by the way, Games on Paper has all the bowl games up, by the way. But like Troy plays Jacksonville State, right? That's the first game this week. Well, those Jacksonville State should have beat Kennesaw State in their championship game. They didn't. Are they really like going to go out here and try to bounce back in this game, or are they going to be like, whatever, we're here, we're in a bowl game, whatever? Well, the bowl game's like 30 degrees. It's cold as shit where they're going to play, and some of these games this week are going to be that way. So it's not like they're down here in Orlando playing in nice places in terms of heat. So I think obviously you got to be careful on what you're doing and what you're looking at, because I've done all those games this week, and we can go over what I think we should do, but I think the reality becomes is just be careful what you get involved in with these teams, because in some cases, not necessarily the Troy and Jacksonville game, but ODU and USF, right? If USF is going to play in Orlando, they normally play in Tampa, so it's not like it's the biggest deal to drive down I-4, 30 minutes and they're there. But they lost their head coach. Their quarterback's not going to play, and Bynum's the guy that drives that whole team. But then on the other side, ODU, their quarterback's not playing either. I'm going to get ready for the NFL draft. Well, he's not playing. So now you got two backup quarterbacks that are going to play in this game. What are you going to get? I mean, what's that going to look like? So if you don't do your homework and you don't know what's happening in these games, don't bet them. Just don't. Make sure that you bet these college games this week specifically, that you know what you're doing. And obviously, if you are going to bet them, maybe you only bet, if you're a normal $100 better. I'm making this up because I don't know what people are betting these days. I think, and here's another thing I was thinking, in terms of like, I went to eat yesterday, right? And I'm sitting there and I ordered a Reuben sandwich. You know how much the Reuben sandwich was? The damn thing was $21 for a Reuben sandwich. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, I'm getting a Reuben sandwich and an alcoholic beverage, and it's going to cost me, $35 or whatever. My wife got whatever she got. This is like an $80 lunch. And whatever, it is what it is. I mean, that's kind of how it works. And then I start thinking, all of these people that are sports gamblers and are betting, and I'm spending, do they spend $80 on a lunch? Sure, they have to. I mean, that's kind of the way it is, unless they're eating McDonald's, and McDonald's shit, that's still going to cost them $15. So I sat there and I thought, we talk about, just put beer and pizza money on it. Well, shit, a pizza's $30 anymore. So look, just bet, man. And if you're gonna bet, you need to bet. And if you're gonna bet and you do it right, you need to start betting at least $100 a game. At least $100 a game. Because the way the economy is, if you don't win, at least $100 when you make your bet, shit, you're not covering your damn pizzas for the week. So I started thinking, man, that's all relative. This crazy the way that this thing works. So anyway, point being is, I would tell you that if your normal bet's $100 in a game, maybe on these games you only want to bet 50 or something, pizza money. So as you start looking at this stuff, you got games on Friday and you got games on Saturday that matter. In the college games, and I've got two games I already bet this morning for that. I bet the Monday night game. So, and I'm thinking about, there's one spot that maybe I'll bet this week. So, we can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, re-entry Monday. I want to get to the baseball as we wrap up the show. But again, Miami-Pittsburgh right now. Miami's that one flying under the radar. No one's talking about. I saw a stat. Tomlin and the Steelers like 17-1 on Monday nights outright. But before you run to the window with your mortgage payment, to bet the Steelers to win the game, go check their record with and without T.J. Watt. Watt had something happen to his lung over the weekend. He will not be playing there. Currently at the Circa, 3 with a 42.5. The 3 shaded to a -115. Don't think they'll get to 3.5. I think it will stick and stay at 3. Thoughts on the Monday night game?
Yeah, my thoughts is obviously I'm in Florida, so I know a little bit more about the Miami side. Miami is just terrible in cold weather, especially lately, and especially under whatever that guy's name is, the skinny little coach. So Tua is not very good in cold weather. So they're like 0-7, 0-8, something like that. But what I think matters is T.J. Watt not playing. So, and I mean that in this sense. I think that helps Miami run the football. Not that he can't. T.J. Watt was a good run stopper too. I think that helps them run the football. That's what's made them successful in their little mini spurt here, is running the ball. So ball control, running the ball, and their defense has stepped up. So as their defense has stepped up, they run the ball. What does that mean? That means clock. Pittsburgh is not an explosive offense. Now, they can move the ball and do different things and all the stuff that they do, but they're not explosive. They don't have 70-yard touchdown passes, and neither do the Dolphins. So I think this is a perfect game to sit there and go, let's watch them be more conservative tonight. Let's watch them run the football. I think this is a great under 42.5 bet. I don't think this game's going over the number. So I like the game under. I like the ball control offensive style that they're probably going to run in the game. And that leads to, in my mind, conservative play calling, and it leads to, clock running off the end. I don't trust Miami in the cold weather. I think Pittsburgh is they're not overrated per se, because they're not really, whatever they are, what they are. And at home against Miami, I can see the 3.5. I understand why it's that way, only in a sense that it's cold weather and it's at home. But can Miami win this game? Absolutely. Miami can win this game. And it wouldn't surprise me if they do, only in the sense that, that goofy NFL stuff that we're talking about, they got to have it matter when they play Baltimore at the end. So maybe they lose this game. And, as it kind of comes down, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to predict a winner. But I do think, what was my, hold on. What was the I'm looking for my AI's number of what it was on a score prediction. It was, here we go. Prediction: Pittsburgh 20 and Miami 13. That was how it came out. 20-13. That's 33 points, well under 42. And I put all the data in it. Plus, I put all the information of who's playing, not playing, all that stuff, and it looks it up too. It knows. So I think that would be a great outcome for me if I, obviously I bet it under that number. So, but I'm not going to touch the side. I don't think the side's the right way to go. I think you have more value in the total than you do the side.
Thursday night, currently at the Circa, the Rams -1.5 for the 44. Again, no Devontae Adams. Kind of surprising. Rams 2.5 point favorites against Seattle a handful of weeks ago. Might have closed at 3. No, I think it stuck around 2.5, maybe closed at 3. Again, Rams dominated the game on the turnover side, 5-0. Yet Seattle still had a chance to win that game. As you said, a handful of bowl games throughout the week. Currently, Friday night, Alabama 1 point favorites at Oklahoma with a 40. And then Saturday, we have 2 NFL games. Green Bay look-ahead line at Chicago was 3 with a 45.5. Now 1.5 with a 46.5. And Philly travels to Washington with a 6 and a 44.5. And then currently Saturday, the 3 bowl games. Oregon 21.5 with a 50 against James Madison. Ole Miss 17 with a 57 against Tulane. And currently A&M with a 3 with a 51. There's 3.5s everywhere else other than Circa, Scotty.
The first thing I want to say is I would much prefer to see in these college bowl, the college playoff. I would way rather have seen, Ole Miss have to play Notre Dame, or Oregon have to play BYU or something. I don't want to see 17 and 21 point spreads in against these. I don't look. The whole idea was supposed to be, and I said this before, but the whole idea is supposed to be that these are supposed to be the best teams. Well, they're not the best teams if you got JMU in there and you got Tulane in there and you got BYU sitting on the side and you got Notre Dame sitting on the side. They're just not all the best teams. Anyway, and the point spreads tell you that. So I think that, one of the things that I'm looking at is Friday. I like the game, Alabama and Oklahoma. So we'll break that down and we'll cover it in more detail. I'm betting it today, and I'm going to bet the Miami and Texas A&M game. I'm going to bet it today. So as we do those things and we break those down, we can do that whatever day you want to, but and you can do it today. But I mean, we got other stuff to deal with. Um, anyway, I think that then as Saturday comes, those are going to be good NFL games on Saturday too, and then Sunday is going to be, I don't want to say loaded, but there's good Sunday games. And then I think the following week, we're getting into almost Christmas. So we start to see different time slots, and you got Saturday games going on all the time. And I think there's 3 games on Christmas and stuff coming up. So there's a lot of meaningful NFL football coming. And don't forget that these guys don't like to play they don't mind Monday games, but they really don't like Thursday games and short rest games. So be careful thinking you're going to get the best performances out of these guys, because you probably aren't. And you hear it a lot, which I don't know is 100% true, but you hear it a lot, that on Thursdays they don't have enough time to put in new plays and do this and do that. Well, I think all that's bullcrap. So when you hear handicappers say that, I think they don't know what they're talking about. And the reason I say that is because who puts in the new plays? Well, the coaches do. And obviously they want to practice them, and that's where they don't have the time. You run out of time for practice, because how many people really realize that when the game's over on Sunday, a lot of these guys don't go back to work until Tuesday or Wednesday. They're not back, in there until Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they're playing on Thursday. So they have to recover from all these car crashes that every time they run into each other. So I think, that Tuesdays are tough, and, you're going to have a lot of these short games. Now, Saturdays aren't quite like that. I think that, you got to pay attention to those things as the season progresses, because there's a lot of weird time schedule slots coming up. And I think we're in a stretch now, Jeff, of something like 21 straight days of football. So, there's going to be something to bet on or something to watch anyway. And that's the way I look at it, is at least I have 21 straight days to something to watch, as opposed to, do I really have to bet, right? So, think about it. If you're going to bet every game, you're going to be closer to 50-50 or less than that. And especially if you're betting on spots where the players are inconsistent. So you want to be real careful on those things as you move forward. And maybe you go in and say, well, here's the games for this week. What's the number one spot of those small conference games? And is it a game that's so good that I can't pass it up? Because obviously we're bettors. We gotta bet the right spots that everybody else misses. Or you sit there and go, no, this isn't worth it. Like I was mad that I had 34-24 Washington to beat Boise State. Well, Boise State wasn't in that game from the beginning. They were dominated the whole way through and dominated on the scoreboard. And it was one of those spots where I was like, damn it, I missed that one. So I think as you kind of go through this, you learn a little bit about what's going on and what's happening. And the other thing I would tell you is pay attention to the conferences and how they're doing. Like Boise State won the Mountain West, and then they just played a team from the Big Ten that was like middle of the pack or lower in the Big Ten, and they got blown out. So that kind of tells me that as you start to look at other teams in the Mountain West, if they play better opponents, you might want to be a little more careful. Like I know there's games coming up where I think UNLV plays like Miami of Ohio and stuff like that. That's not kind of what I'm talking about. I'm just talking more about if they play bigger conference schools. Just keep that in mind. The best of your conference couldn't hold up against the middle class of the Big Ten. So those are the things I'm talking about as that kind of comes down. And that won't happen until more towards New Year's and Christmas, after Christmas. These games are all terrible up to then.
Yeah, and again, we can't stress this, or I can't stress this, or we both can't stress this enough. Just because they're on TV and it's a bowl game doesn't mean, we have to wager transfer portal coaches. There's over 30 coaches now leaving the building. Then there's guys getting ready for the NFL, yada yada yada. What have these teams been doing since their last game? And back in the day, when bowl games meant something. Teams practiced for a month to get ready for each other. They meant something. There was a thing called pride, where today it's just a money grab. So you saw Boise State just never in it. They didn't show up. Washington just stuck it to them from start to finish. But most people would run to the window and see Boise State bowl game and automatically autoplay Boise State. And it's just, in my mind, a waste of time, waste of effort, waste of money. You're just flipping coins, flipping burgers, whatever you want to say. So there's some meaningful bowl games, and you can do all your homework. If you think you got an edge because A, B, C, and D, go to the window, as Scotty would say, with conviction. Put your hard-earned money on it, and if you win, congrats. If you lose, figure out why and move on to the next bowl game. So as we wrap up today's show, wanted to hit the MLB for a second. Not a lot of movement, of course. Not a lot of movement for my Red Sox. The East, AL East just got stronger again with Pete Alonso going to Baltimore. Now I'm hearing Michael King, which would make the most sense again for Baltimore. Their front end pitching, they don't have it. They traded one of their young and upcoming guys who was injured, who I liked, over to the Angels. I think got Tyler Rogers, I think, in a cloud of dust, but their back end got stronger. Now they add Pete. Their front end up top and their lineup's great, but I mean, unless they're going to beat you 9-8, and which they probably will in some cases, Michael King is a piece that they're talking about adding. But give me your thoughts on what you're hearing, what you're seeing. Not much movement over the weekend. I think Kyle Tucker, there's been splashes of him going to the Jays, but I think if the Yankees want to upgrade on Bellinger, he'll end up being the Yankee. Hey, if the Dodgers want him, obviously they're going to get him. Bregman, heard mixed reviews, back and forth. Disappointed that he left. So give me your thoughts on what you're hearing and seeing moving forward. I got to go check something out.
Yeah, I think that in Major League Baseball, you've got one thing that needs to happen for other things to happen. So for example, Bregman, I don't think is going to sign or have a place to play per se until all the rumor mill dies down from Ketel Marte. So what I mean is people are going to have to move pieces around and do different things to get Ketel Marte, and if all that happens in a trade or whatever, and when that settles out, then okay, well now let's go get Bregman or whoever's going to get Bregman because they need those spots. So I think that's the way baseball works. I think baseball works where one piece stops the flow until it breaks. And then once that breaks, everything starts to happen. I think that's kind of the same thing in the outfield where, you're talking about Kyle Tucker and so forth. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, he's the number one player right now in free agency. He was the number one player prior to that. But I think, when you start to think about it, you have a young person in Kyle Tucker. Hey, Jay Barry, thank you, man. It says have a strong week. I appreciate it. So when you think about what's going on in Major League Baseball, you've got a guy that is younger in Kyle Tucker than say Ketel Marte, but productivity right now they're the same. If not, Ketel Marte war wise is the same number as what Kyle Tucker is. So you're going to get a lot of value. So I think a lot of those pieces will start to, once they kind of open up a little bit, I think they'll fall in line. I think as the starting pitching market goes, there's not the super huge names that are available in terms of free agent signings. I mean, Framber Valdez is the number one guy, and don't get me wrong, he's worth paying for. Like if the Orioles can get him, that really helps them. And Ranger Suarez is out there, but you got to think about where do these guys fit in, and Ranger Suarez I don't think fits into the American League East. He's a soft tosser. I think soft tossers will get killed in the American League East because all those lineups are just they're just they're going to beat the crap out of the ball. So I don't think he fits in the American League East. But as you start to really play things out, these guys need pitchers. So that said, I was looking at the tracker, and Merrill Kelly got signed by the Diamondbacks. We talked about that the other day. The Diamondbacks needed pitching because they don't got any. Well, they got Merrill Kelly back, so that's not the greatest thing in the world. But you know what? He's going to throw nearly 200 innings, and he's going to give them a chance to win almost every night that he goes out there to pitch, unless he's quote their ace, and he has to match up against everybody else's best pitcher because he's a better number 2 or number 3 in terms of matchups and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was a good signing for them. The other one that I was really sort of surprised about, the St. Louis Cardinals signed Dustin May. Well, that's a good risk for them. Like they don't have anybody like him. They got go ahead.
Hold on. I lived the Dustin May experience last year. And listen, St. Louis used to be the team that would take these guys off the scrap heap, give them a little of that juice, and they would turn into something. And then when they were done with you, then they would, unless he gets some of this juice on steroids, the guy was pathetic, Scotty. And I get it. You're just grasping it. So I get it. He was putrid last year.
Yeah, he's 28. He throws 100 miles an hour. I don't think they have anybody like him that way that can be a starting pitcher. Their best pitcher is Liberatore, for God's sakes. So can he provide them anything? Maybe. Depending on what they do, and I thought it was something different from them. It's not something that you see them do. And the other thing that was very surprising to me, Jeff, and this is surprising. The Kansas City Royals and the Milwaukee Brewers made a deal. Angel Zerpa, who was a relief pitcher for the Royals, got traded to Milwaukee. I like that move for Milwaukee. Milwaukee needs more bullpen. Like they didn't have the greatest bullpen. They have Uribe back there and a couple other guys that come out and throw hard. But I think they could have used some help. And this is another one. I think he's left-handed, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it right there in front of me. I can click it and find out. But they traded Nick Mears, who for them is a bullpen piece. So that gives them, gives the Royals back a bullpen piece. But the biggest thing was Isaac Collins. So Isaac Collins goes from the Brewers to the Royals. Isaac Collins is a good piece. Those guys are all mix and match for Milwaukee. And Isaac Collins, I always felt like was a pretty good player for Milwaukee. So I thought it's probably a good move for both teams to a degree, but I was surprised that Milwaukee gave up a little bit of their mix and match kind of stuff that they had. So that was an interesting move. The Jorge Polanco deal that goes to the Mets, they got to sign somebody. I don't know that moves the needle for them. I think he'll get along with Soto, right? He'll get along with Lindor and those guys over there. But I don't know that, he's that guy that moves the needle that takes them anywhere. So I thought that was interesting. I don't think that can be all they do. So I thought that was interesting. I think what the Braves are doing in terms of securing their back end, that they're getting pitchers. The Braves. Where is the Braves? The Braves got Robert Suarez, and now they got Suarez and the old closer. I forget what his name is. Iglesias. So, and he's old. So, they needed a guy to come in, and now Iglesias can pitch the 8th inning or 7th inning or whatever. And, don't look at the Braves like they're not the best team in the National League East. I know they finished terrible last year, but their starting pitchers, if they can be healthy, and I know that's all an if. So if they're healthy with those guys coming back, and you get bounce backs offensive years, which happens in Major League Baseball, I think the Braves are probably the best team in the National League East. And if they're the best team in the National League East, that automatically makes them better than anybody in the American or National League Central, which makes them second best to the Dodgers. It's just by default.
No, it's so funny because last year we had pre-flop, being transparent that I am, of course, the Braves to win the East. We had the Braves, obviously, some token NL champs, World Series champs, and we had them, I think it was 91.5, over 91.5 or 92, their win total. And they turned into confetti real fast with Strider out. Acuna gets hurt. Schwellenbach goes down, but I think they are going to be the beast of the East, hands down. Now again, you're on paper fighting for second with the Dodgers, and again with 2027 and the lockout looming, it's not if, there will be a lockout in 2027 unless a miracle, and there's no way that they figure that out before 2027. So I can just see the Dodgers pushing all in for the three-peat. It reminds me of UConn going for the three-peat in college hoops here because, listen, there were talks earlier in the week. Glasnow was available, which to me now said, shit, they are going to go get Skubal. Because if I can get 3 or 4 prospects and Glasnow, a ready-made person to move into the front of our rotation, it makes all the sense in the world for Detroit. Well, they made it clear that Glasnow's not going anywhere. So doesn't mean if they could pull off a trade for Skubal. And I compared it to this. I'd be like, Tigers, just be careful here because there's a guy named Mookie Betts that we traded from Boston and got all these Jeter Downs and Verdugo and the next coming from the Dodgers loaded farm system. Not one of those guys is left on our roster. So just be careful there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Skubal. We talk about a lot of stuff like the Angels had Ohtani. What did they get for him? Nothing. They got nothing, right? They could have traded him and got something. So that's the same thing. And then everybody banged on the Angels for, you didn't get anything for Ohtani. Well, it's the same thing with the Tigers at this point. They're not going to be able to sign Skubal. So what do you get for him? And what do you? Well, if you don't do something with him, you get nothing. So I don't know how all that's going to shake out. I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm not sure, how my thoughts are around how convicted they are to go to the window and go, yeah, he's for sale. I don't know. I don't know. So and then to publicly say that, then who wants to go sign with the Tigers? Who wants to go sign with the Tigers until after they start that and figure out, how this build happens and what it looks like and that kind of stuff for them. So I think that puts them in a really hard spot, to be honest. And where do they go from here and what do they do? Now they got some pretty good players. I mean, Riley Green's pretty good. Kerry Carpenter's really good. His problem is he can't hit left-handed pitching, so that puts the Tigers in a big problem because he has to sit. He's one of the best players they have, and he has to sit when a left-handed pitcher pitches. So that's not good. So anyway, I think Torkelson is hit or miss with that team, and it's Javi Baez had a great season last year. Hell, he was an all-star for God's sakes. So it's the weirdest thing, right? So I think they can improve. I think they can continually get better. And don't forget, Detroit Tigers have money. They can go spend money that they don't have, New York Yankee money or Boston Red Sox money, but they signed Miguel Cabrera, for God's sakes, and that took a lot. So if they want somebody, they can go spend the money and deal with it. So I just don't think, the Scooble deal is going to be one of the biggest deals, if not the biggest deal, other than Ohtani, right? So I think you look at it from that level. But I was going to tell you, Jeff, like one of the things about the Braves, you can't expect the Braves to do well when they had 21 starts from Grant Holmes, who's supposed to be a relief pitcher, but they turned him into a starter. He made 21 starts. A.J. Smith-Shawver made 9 starts. Bryce Elder made 28 starts, and he wasn't on the opening day roster. He made 28 starts, which is the most of any Brave. That's the most. 28 starts. Joey Wentz, who they got from the Tigers, I think, who's a relief pitcher, made 13 starts. And then, your guys then they had Jose Suarez, 1 start, Austin Cox, 1 start, Charlie Morton, 1 start, Davis Daniel, I don't even know who that is, 2 starts, Eric Fetty, they signed Eric Fetty, for God's sakes, 4 starts. And then Carlos Carrasco, 3 starts. Look, you're not going to win doing that. So as the world turns, so to speak, you get Chris Sale, Schwellenbach, Kirsten Waldrop is going to be a star. Spencer Strider, and if you can get what's the other guy's name? Not the guy from the White Sox. What the heck is that guy's guy's name? Anyway, I forget what his name is. He got hurt last year. We didn't pitch in at all. So they got starters that can get them to the end, and they got some young guys. This Waldrop kid's really good. So I think that totally changes things around. I don't think you see Carrasco making starts for them. I don't think you see, Joey Wentz making 17 starts for the Braves and stuff like that. So, what'll be interesting to me is to see what their lineup looks like, because I don't know that you're going to have. I don't know that you're going to have, what's his name, Marcell Ozuna back. What are you going to do with him? Like, he needs to go somewhere and do something. I've always liked Marcell Ozuna for them because I think he carried a lot of their load when the other guys aren't hitting and stuff. And then it was really amazing to see what's the other guy's name? What's his name? Michael Harris. What he did. He was terrible in the first couple of months of the season, if not terrible in the first half of the season. He ended up with 20 home runs, 86 RBIs, 20 stolen bases, and was very good in the second half. Carried a lot of what they did in the second half, and obviously, his first half was so bad that his total numbers weren't great. But this is a guy that can hit 270, 280. And hit 30 home runs and do a lot for them. And you pair him having a good season with Acuna, and then you get some relative productivity out of these guys. And the third baseman, Riley, he got hurt, so he didn't play a whole lot. You get Riley in there that hits 30, 40 home runs, and then all of a sudden, holy crap, this team is and I am talking about first base, and Olsen. So like those guys can do a lot if they can get normalcy out of their normal guys and then get starting pitching. And now they got a little bit of back end help. I don't know what Ozuna's going to end up doing. Profar didn't get to play for them because they got suspended for all that time. So I think Profar will make a big difference too. So and then they got Baldwin. So look, the Braves are good. So anybody out there, don't count the Braves out. The Braves preseason, or at least right now, with what I'm looking at on Fangraphs and other things, they're better than any of them other teams. They're better than the Phillies. They're better than the Mets. So that's taking a lot into concern with their starting pitching, though. So and then that obviously some of those other teams aren't complete. The Mets aren't complete. The Phillies aren't complete. So we'll see what happens with how those things turn out.
Quick question. question before we move on to Tuesday. Lockout. Let's just say, for poops and guilt, when there is a stalemate, when there is a lockout, these players do not get paid, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what happens. So a lockout is there's a contract, the contract's expired, but the major league owners lock them out of coming to the facilities, lock them out of going to represent their teams, anything that has to do with major league, they're locked out. They can't come in. So it's an ownership move to say, look, we're stopping baseball until we get an agreement, and we're locking you out. So it's an ownership side deal. The other way would be is we go on strike. Well, that's a player move, right? So if they go on strike, the players are sitting there going, we don't like what's going on. We're not going to play so we're going to go on strike. If it's locked out, it's the other way around. The ownership says, we're not doing anything until we get a better arrangement, and we're going to lock you out.
And that's I think a lot of managers sitting here let these chips fall, and then people, there's 65, 80, we've seen it, 90 people without a contract, and it's February 1st, and you give them the 1-year deal, bet on yourself. And I think as owners, what makes this so more appeasing is knowing the fact that there's going to be most likely a lockout in 27. So, hey, Scott, I know you want a 3 for 100. I'll give you 35 right now for 2026, and we'll see what happens in 2027, because there could be 80-game season, there could be a 120-game season, there could be a 40-game season, but you're not going to get paid. And if there is a lockout, let me ask you this now. So in other words, season ends November 1st, 2026. Dodgers win 3 in a row, or whatever it is. The hot stove, the free agents, there'll be nothing, right? Because there's going to be a lockout.
Well, I think that would be the first thing that needs to be addressed is what does it look like for player contracts? Because you can't make a player contract without knowing what the rules are. So if the rules aren't available, you can't write a contract. And so that kills the market. That doesn't kill conversation. It doesn't kill communication. It doesn't kill, hey, look, once this stuff gets resolved, I want to do this deal with you. Oh yeah, that sounds like a good deal. We'll do that deal. It doesn't stop that. But what it does stop is the actual ability to put thoughts and ideas to paper, depending on how much they change. And I don't think they can change everything. So it's only going to change to a certain degree, and who has more benefit and who doesn't, based off of what the contracts look like. But I'm guessing then that as things kind of come down, conversations can happen. I think conversations will happen. I think signings obviously can't happen, but I think they can certainly have the fundamentals of a deal prior to anything, and then when it's all said and done, we got it done. Okay, then they go, let's go finalize this deal. Stuff like that. I think that can happen. So in terms of hot stove for that time frame, I think you can still have the conversations. I don't think you're going to obviously have. And maybe that really creates all kinds of weird things, because maybe there's 2 or 3 teams on the same guy that think they have that once it signs and over, we're going to go sign this guy. And then two or three teams have the same thing. They think they're going to go get this guy. That can happen. That they can certainly sit there and go, oh yeah, we got this guy. And then all of a sudden this team says, oh, we got this guy. And oh shit, the other team says that too. And they're like, well shit, we ain't got nothing. So I think that can very well be a possibility. Obviously it's all different kinds of things. And, I think in my mind, one of the things that I'm worried about more than anything is baseball's on the rise in terms of attendance, in terms of watching it on TV, in terms of popularity. So when you get to this point, I think there's a lot of people, obviously not us, because we've been around for, we're fossils. We've been around forever. So the young people maybe have not gone through any of these lockouts and strikes and stuff for baseball. They don't see it in football. They don't see it in basketball. They don't see it in other sports. So I don't know what kind of rebound. I don't know what kind of effect it's going to have on the growth of the game in the sport. So um, I don't know. We'll see. Isn't this year coming up? They're supposed to have the ABS balls and strike system in the big game this year
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
so I think as they keep doing stuff and progressing with different things, that's what the youth likes, right? The youth likes that stuff. They're like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. Look, that's all good. Whatever engagement gets them in, but also I think that's all now being used as negotiation pieces and negotiation things, and they want to control it. So pretty soon we'll be having AI games.
Myself and Scotty will be back on Tuesday, 9:15, 9:30. Be dark on Wednesday, be back on Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow around 10:30, Andrew McGinnis, NHL, back in his usual spot. We're going to move some slots around because this week we're going to try to keep business as usual. The following week will be Christmas week. So, again, I'll have posted time slots for me and Scott and whoever the regulars will be. And the same for the last week in December on New Year's week. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only Scotty Webb, Webby 20 MLB. Big shout out to Mr. Jay Berry. Thank you so much for all the trust and support. PB, if you're out there, Mr. Lucky, Dr. Lance, and all the cast of characters and part of the ECS family. Guys, back east, it's up to a nice warm 19 degrees. So bundle up. It's slick out there, so make sure you're careful when you're walking around. So again, stay tuned. We'll be back real soon.